we're missing hockey right now. And it should be we should be well into a season and kind of understanding which teams are for real and which aren't.
Mm-hmm. Well, remember the mark was always, hey, you knew if you were going to be good by the American Thanksgiving.
Right.
That's a couple weeks away, so we'd already know if they were going to be good or not.
We'd have a pretty good idea on where things are going, and I think at the very least we'd all cast the vote that we believe by next year they're back on schedule. Like October 2021, they're playing the beginning of a season, right?
They have to be.
Have to be. And it's got to be 82 games, and hopefully with fans. But, that I'm sure is a big part of the holdup here with where they're going. And I think peer pressure is eventually going to push them over the edge. I think they're going to play anyway. I think they have to play. You can't have a self-imposed lockout and miss another season, basically.
I said this on the last time they were going to start up in the bubble, Brian. Don't they kind of have to get their ducks in a row here kind of quickly? Like they got to get trucking here on organizing this stuff, don't they? I mean, once again, the NBA's ahead of the game. They've got dates, and I'm always a date guy. Like, give me something to look forward to. They haven't even really met more than once, have they? The players in the league.
The Christmas thing's an interesting one though, because the NBA wants to play on Christmas Day. Like they'll have 3 days of training camp and play on Christmas Day, right?
I get it, David, but what about January 1st for hockey? Shouldn't that be kind of a realistic thing, or can that be done, or why aren't they working towards that?
If it's January 1st, you're looking at what, a December 15th training camp?
Mm-hmm.
I keep thinking that it's going to be a January 2nd training camp, that they're not going to push it and have camp through Christmas. They're going to give the guys Christmas. That's going to be their little bonus or whatever it is. And in the lockout years, we started in January 19th or January 20th and played a 48-game season, both of those lockout years.
So that's kind of what
we're looking at, a 48-game season? You guys think that?
They have two perfect models of it, 94-95 and 2012-13. They've got two models in place starting January 19th, 20th that ended in mid-June both years. And both were highly successful, and, the games were jammed together a little bit. No all-star game, no bye week. You're just playing. And so I think the fact that they have, we're all creatures of habit. When you have two schedules already in place, you've already got it done, then why wouldn't you, even if you want to build it a little bit bigger from there, but that'll be your starting point, I think. I don't think we're going to see hockey over Christmas.
I'm with you on that. I think they're going to allow the NBA to get started. I think maybe they'll avoid the World Juniors up here anyway, which does take up a lot. I mean, the World Junior games outrate the NHL games when they're playing.
Those 2 weeks for sure.
Yeah, for those 2 weeks. So it's almost as if, okay, let those happen, let that happen. I'm bracing for basically a lockout season. That doesn't mean it has to be 48 games. Maybe it's 50, maybe it's 52, 55. I don't know, but they're not going to be anywhere close to 82, clearly.
Yeah, but that model.
Yeah, that model, exactly. And it worked, and it is fun. Like it is. That was a fun year. Like the most recent one in 2012, 2013, that was a blast. You're playing every other night. The anticipation builds. It's going to feel like hockey weather right off the bat. There's no easing into it. It's like, here we go. Every game counts. It's going to kind of have a feel like closer to an NFL feel than it does a baseball feel of 162, where you can be in it or out of it quick. And I hope that's what they do. And I anticipate that they will. We've all heard rumors and reports that there might be some owners not overly keen about playing because they just feel like they're going to keep dumping money and losing money. They cannot just take a year off. Like that would be such an amateur
Brian.
Look. You can't.
For the brand, they can't.
For the brand, you have to play. You have got to play. And, 48, 50 games, so be it. That means you can start in mid-January, end of January. And the thing is, if you're going to play 48, and the earlier you start, the more off days you can have and allow for COVID and postponements, because I think they need to consider that. Which again,
but the longer you wait to start, the better chance you have of people in more buildings.
Yes,
more people in more buildings.
Right.
So I think that's more important than the days off part. I really do.
Right, but it's not so much days off, Pulley. What I'm saying is, what if you get a team that has to be shut down for a week?
Right.
How do you make up those games if you've decided we got to be done by the Olympics? And you just sat there and said, we're only playing 48, and let's start February 1st, where you could have started January 15th. Like every day I think would be valuable, or you would assume it should be valuable, I guess is what I'm saying. I agree with you. I think the priority, clearly, it's all about dollars and cents, is the further we push back, maybe the more likelihood we have people in the stands, which I totally get. But I feel like there's also an end date. Like there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it is the Summer Olympics, end of July.
Question.
So
no question.
It's not as if it's like the bubble where they're like, whatever, we'll play through August, September, October. We're not on a timeline. You are on a timeline this time, and you should anticipate a team having an outbreak, like Tennessee did in the NFL, like the Marlins did in baseball. If it happens and it pops up and you got to shut it down, what are you going to do?
Isn't it amazing that baseball got through it?
I know.
At one point, the Cardinals had played like I don't know, 6 games or 5 games or something.
5
Somebody
games
else had
pool.
played like 15
I
or
swore
20.
during that week. I swore
no
during
way.
that week when the Marlins, they were all going down, and then there was problems
Cardinals.
in Philly, then the Cardinals. I'm like, they're not going to do this. They have to shut down the season. And I wasn't the only one saying that. And then they just kind of kept battling through, and then it was like they're going to make up their games. And I'm like, how? But they got it done, and they battled through it
They almost
somehow.
made it despite themselves. They really did. They weren't planning on it. They weren't, even the Jays going to Buffalo, like, hey, the Jays did pretty well in Buffalo. I mean, that worked pretty well.
They played all their games.
It looked like it was going to be a disaster. And at the end of it, you were like, you know what?
Right. And that
They
should
were a
maybe
playoff
be
team, and it looked pretty good.
that probably should be a lesson and allow us to prepare for future flare-ups where it's not going to take the league down. Rome is not going to crumble. It's not going to burn. There's going to be issues, but allow yourself some time to, alleviate those issues or work through those issues is probably a good thing to consider. But
now, they ended up playing some double headers too, though, did they
yes,
not?
they did. And they played 7-inning double hitters. They played a lot of them.
7-inning, right. So
Which obviously is not an option in the NHL. But
two-period games in a day?
yeah, that would be different, wouldn't it? But, you could play more back-to-backs than you're used to or than you want to. But I'm guessing the Players Association would have to sign off on that. And they may not want to because injuries would inevitably pop up.
Well, if they're doing that Canadian division, wouldn't you think if Toronto goes out to Edmonton, it would be like Friday and Sunday night or something like that?
Sure.
As opposed to just wheeling out there and doing one?
Should be. Yep.
Yeah, you'd be playing multiple times.
Should
Even
be,
if you
sure.
went back and forth between Calgary and Edmonton, a couple times each.
And that is also what separates the National Hockey League from these other leagues is the Jays could play again in Buffalo, don't want to, but could. The Raptors could play in Kansas City or Louisville or Buffalo, could. Don't want to, but could. I don't know if you can find 7 homes down in the States for all the 7 Canadian teams.
No.
So the border and COVID and 2 different countries and 2 different sets of rules and regulations make it much more complicated. But they've got time. They have their time. I'm sure they're using their time. And I'm as curious as you are. I want to hear something. Give me an answer.
The AHL has set the date, right? They said, here's what we're doing. Here's when we're playing. And, February 4th, I think, or 3rd or 4th is going to be our first game. And so they're not doing that just randomly. They're talking to the NHL. The NHL owns, all but 12 of the AHL teams outright.
Right.
So there's some communication going on. Now, we just haven't got the announcement from the NHL, but clearly they're having talks.
Would that suggest to you the NHL is going well before that date?
Before that date.
Yeah, and they've made their cuts.
There's always a gap between the NHL and the AHL, but they would go before that date, and they always have that gap between those 2 leagues starting. Anyway.
So there you go. I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking the 3rd Wednesday of January is opening night, and you take it from there. And if that's the case, it's about 2 months away, and camps are going to open up in about a month and a half.